All right, let's take a long, slow ride, Metro. This will be romantic, atmospheric, and intimate, but not explicit, something that feels good, like a story unfolding between stations. Between stops. The Metro platform smelled like warm concrete and electricity, the kind of scent you only notice when you've been standing still for too long. The air vibrated faintly underfoot, a promise that the train was coming even before the announcement crackled overhead. They stood a little apart at first. Not because they wanted distance, more because the platform was crowded, bodies moving around them in loose orbits. Commuters checked phones, adjusted bags, stared into nothing. Somewhere down the tunnel, wind rushed forward, carrying sound with it. Then the train arrived. Metal screamed briefly against metal, lights flashing as the cars pulled in, doors slid open. The crowd surged. They were carried along with it, shoulder to shoulder now, closer than they'd been moments ago. Inside the car, it was warm, too warm. The windows were fogged at the edges, and the scent of perfume, detergent, and rain-soaked coats hung in the air. The doors shut with a decisive thump, and suddenly they were moving, gliding underground, away from daylight. They found a spot near the pole, facing each other without quite meaning to. So one of them said, raising their voice just enough to be heard over the hum, "This is cozy." The other smiled, a small smile but real, that's one word for it. The train lurched gently as it picked up speed. Someone stumbled and laughed. A recorded voice announced the next stop in a calm, unbothered tone, like it had never known urgency in its life. They swayed together with the motion of the car. At first it was accidental balance adjusting, gravity doing its thing, but then it stayed that way. A shoulder brushing an arm, fingers grazing knuckles near the pole, each touch light enough to pretend it hadn't happened and impossible to ignore. Neither of them moved away. They talked about nothing important, about how late it was, about how the city felt different underground, like a shared secret. The words weren't the point, the rhythm was. Every time the train slowed, they drifted a little closer. Every time it sped up, they leaned in to compensate. Their bodies learned each other quickly, intuitively, like this wasn't the first time. At one stop, more people got on, space tightened. Now there was no pretending. A hand rested at a waist, not gripping, not claiming, just there, a quiet, protective presence in the chaos of the car. The response came instantly, a subtle shift closer, an exhale that hadn't realized it was being held. "You okay?" one asked low near the other's ear. "Yeah," came the answer, just crowded. "Oh my." The sound lingered between them. The train plunged deeper, lights flickering briefly before stabilizing. For a moment, the windows turned into mirrors. In the glass, they caught a glimpse of themselves, two figures too close to be casual, not close enough yet to be obvious. The awareness changed something. They stopped talking. Silence settled in, but it wasn't empty. It was full of things unsaid, of glances that lasted a beat too long. One of them tilted their head slightly, just enough to look properly, to really see the other's face in this strange, flickering light. "You're starring," they murmured, smiling. "Yeah," the other said, "I am." Another stop, doors opened, cold air rushed in, briefly clearing the heat. A few people got off, space loosened just a little. Neither of them took advantage of it. Instead, they shifted so they were standing even closer now, bodies angled inward, a small island in the moving crowd. The city rushed past outside the windows, reduced to streaks of light and shadow. "You know," one said softly, "this is how it happens in movies." The other laughed under their breath, "Yeah, how that?" Underground, late, everyone else pretending not to notice. They glanced around. A man with headphones stared firmly at the floor. A couple nearby argued in whispers. Someone scrolled endlessly on their phone. No one was watching. The train rocked gently as it curved. The movement brought them together more fully this time, chests brushing, knees nearly touching. The hand at the waist shifted slightly, thumb pressing in just enough to be felt. Their breaths mingled. It was a look that did it. One of them lifted their gaze, slow and deliberate, eyes dark with question, not asking out loud, not rushing, just offering. The answer came in the way the other didn't look away. They lined in at the same time. At first, it was almost nothing, just foreheads touching, noses brushing, a shared breath. The world seemed to hold still, as if even the train had decided to be quiet for a second. Then their lips met. Softly, carefully, a kiss shaped by motion and restraint by the knowledge that they were in public, that the world was right there. It made it sweeter, not weaker. The train jolted slightly, and the kiss broke into quiet laughter, foreheads still touching. "Wow," one whispered, "we're really doing this." "Apparently," the other said, smiling into another kiss. This one lingered longer. It was warm and unhurried, lips pressing together with just enough confidence to say, "I'm here." Hands stayed respectful but certain, at a waist, at a shoulder, fingers curling slightly in fabric. Around them, the metro continued its routine. Announcements echoed, doors opened and closed, life went on. Inside their little bubble, time stretched. They kissed again when the train pulled away from the station, and again when it slowed, each one a little different, sometimes playful, sometimes quiet, sometimes charged with a spark that made their breaths hitch. Between kisses, they rested close, cheeks brushing, sharing warmth. Words were traded in murmurs. "This is my stop in 3. Mine too." "Of course it is." They smiled, noses touching, like the coincidence pleased them more than it should have. The final stretch felt shorter than it was. Anticipation buzzed under their skin, not anxious, just alive. They kissed once more, slow, lingering, a kiss meant to be remembered. When the train finally slowed for their station, they pulled back just enough to look at each other properly. Hair slightly mussed, eyes bright, lips curved in soft smiles. The doors opened, cool air rushed in again. They stepped onto the platform together, hands brushing, still close, still moving in sync. Behind them, the train pulled away, carrying its noise and heat with it, leaving the station quieter, calmer. They stood there for a second, just the two of them now. "That was," one began. "Yeah," the other said, finishing it with a grin. They didn't rush to leave. There was no need. Some moments are meant to be carried, not chased. And as they walked up toward the exit, side by side, the city waiting above ground, the echo of that kiss stayed with them, warm as the metro lights, steady as the rails beneath the city, something shared between stops that neither of them would forget.